What's going on, everybody? Doc, Average Gamer Guys, back yet again. More Escape from Tarkov action, and jumping into another Teaching Tarkov video. This one focused around a topic that I think is one of the more important ones for Tarkov, which is gear fear. So I want to jump in. I want to talk a little bit about gear fear. I want to spend some time talking about what gear fear really is and kind of break that down. That hopefully makes a little bit more sense, especially if you're new and you're jumping into the game. Um, and in addition to that, I certainly want to spend some time talking about good ways to counter that gear fear. I will say up front, again, that for most folks that probably play this game a lot, this video may not be intended purely for you, but you may pick up something useful. Or, seriously, if you have some experience in the game, I very much welcome comments down below in order to help make this a really informative video for basically everybody out there watching it. In addition to that, again, I don't think I'm going to be sharing any completely groundbreaking things as far as how to counter gear fear, but a couple of good tips that certainly helped me and a couple of the folks that I played this game with to kind of really start to get over that gear fear and find a good avenue as you progress, both in a wipe and throughout multiple wipes in order to do that. So hopefully it's helpful for you. Without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so I think a good place to start is actually talking about gear fear and what it really is. At the very base level, it's the fear of losing your gear. In a very punishing game like Tarkov, especially even with a system like insurance, you're certainly never guaranteed that whatever raid you go into, you're going to walk out with anything, or even the stuff that you brought in originally. And insurance can certainly help provide a little bit of buffer to that. You can certainly find yourself getting some headsets back, some helmets from time to time, maybe even a couple of weapon attachments, or if you get really lucky, getting your full kit back after you die. But in most cases, gear fear is the base level of just being afraid to bring gear in, especially good gear, and being afraid to lose it. Now, what I really want to talk about, and I think is more aligned to what gear fear actually is, it's not really the fear of losing the gear that you have on your person or that you're going to be taking into a raid. I think a better understanding and a better discussion around gear fear is really the inability to get that gear back or to get similar gear back. I think that's more so the base of it. I can certainly tell you, as I first started this game, I used probably the common term or the common saying for not bringing in good gear is, well, I'm going to use that later, right? I have a task later on that I may need to use that for, and that's certainly true for certain aspects of gear. Maybe you pick up an Alton from Reshala early wipe, and you certainly want to be able to use that for maybe your pistol kill challenges and quest. That makes sense. But I find myself, and I find a lot of others saying that, and then what ends up happening invariably for a lot of people is you have a whole boatload of slicks, you have a whole boatload of your really best ammo, and you never use it. You get to the end of the wipe and you realize that, oh shoot, we have 3 days left before the wipe happens, and now I'm trying to run all this fun gear that I probably should have been running before that point. So I sincerely think, and I think a big part of the discussion about gear fear is just, it really is an inability to get yourself either the money to be able to buy that gear or the ability to get that gear back by being successful in raid. Because once you progress through this game, once you spend a lot of time learning this game and learning what to do and how to do it and learning the maps and learning where the good loot is and learning how to really make money, I think that is the biggest proponent of being able to get over your gear fear. So let's talk about countering gear fear. That's the first tip up front. And anybody that plays this game or has played this game for a little while is going to tell you is having a route or having the understanding of the game in order to feel confident in making money, even if you have 0 rubles left, is going to be the biggest first step over countering gear fear. Because it becomes to a certain point in a wipe, it becomes to a certain point, as you play this game, that you don't have to worry about money. You can run into a raid if you feel really successful running a really budget kit, or even basically almost nothing, although not a big proponent of that, but if you play that way, that's perfectly fine. But you can certainly find, and as you learn the game, you're going to find good options for going into a raid and making money. Being able to get out of that raid successfully and being able to sell those items or use those items in the future to then kind of snowball that stuff into bigger and better profits. Once you have the ability to make money, nothing really matters. Although I would argue that this wipe, 12.11, has certainly added to the challenge of that, pushing the flea market back to level 20. I think for those players that maybe still were working through their gear fear, the flea market opening up at level 10 previously certainly makes that less of a challenge. You really just got to survive long enough. You got to use that starting gear long enough to get to level 10. And then after that, again, if you can make some money, you have the option to basically buy whatever you need to buy on the flea market. So again, from a counter and gear fear perspective, learn the game, learn a map. If you're new and you've just picked this up and you're just starting to play this wipe, or again, maybe you've dabbled in this a little bit and you're really starting to want to try to, I don't want to say take it seriously, but play it more and try to get, some progress in this game, learn a map, learn a stash run route, learn a way to make money. If you can do that, you can do that successfully and repeatable. That's the key thing. It's repeatable. You don't have to always go and run through a map and find 3 LEDXs or find 5 GPUs in order to have a successful run. You just simply have to go into that run. You have to survive it. You have to get some items that you can certainly sell. And if you can do that and rinse and repeat that, you're going to be successful at making money. So learn the game. At some point throughout this, instead of just watching me talk, I'm sure I'm going to be showing some stash runs. They might already be going some loot runs as well, specifically for customs and interchange, where you can certainly find yourselves a lot of good opportunities for making money. So hopefully those are helpful for you as well. The other thing, one of the other tips I'm going to give, especially if you are working on your gear fear, is you don't certainly need to push all PvP. That is certainly an aspect of this game, and this seems like a really simple tip, and some of you probably would roll your eyes when I say this, but you certainly don't have to push every PvP fight. If you're working on your gear fear or you're working out and you're just starting, please consider that surviving the raid is going to be infinitely more important than getting into a PvP fight and winning it to then pick that gear up. While that person or that group of people may have some really fantastic gear that maybe you don't even have access to, simply getting that gear is not going to help counter your gear fear. You could run across a pilgrim full of slicks, and I will tell you, if you are still working through your gear fear and you still have it, there's a good chance that you take those items, put them into your stash, and you probably never use them. Or, like I had discussed before, you're probably picking them up and you're using them at the very end of the wipe when they really do you no good. You may use them for some specific tasks, but it's going to take you a while. So what I will tell you again is, because that instance and being able to get into that instance is not repeatable. That's the big part of that. Same thing with PvP. You're going to get into a PvP fight. If you're bad at PvP, that's something that you should certainly try to work on. Which is going to invariably help you with your gear fear, the more confident you get in the game to actually be able to get in a fight and win it. But if you're not confident and you're still struggling, I certainly would say avoid the PvP. You're going to be able to find plenty of gear on scavs. You're going to be able to find plenty of gear as you just move through a map. And again, if you have a good stash run route or loot route or just general route through a map where you can certainly find some things and some lootable items, surviving that raid is going to be infinitely more important. Again, as you approach level 20, and once you get to level 20, this certainly gets easier. Certainly gets to be something that you can overcome that challenge a little bit more. But you don't have to fight every fight. So avoid some PvP as you work on especially learning the game. Scav runs, especially with Fence Reputation, Scav runs are infinitely helpful in order to hopefully help you fight some of that gear fear. Especially now with the bonuses for escaping and getting out of a raid, and getting some Fence Reputation for every Scav run you do. There's multiple benefits outside of just picking that gear up. But I think everybody would tell you that's played this game for a little while that if you're struggling with gear fear and you're not sure how to progress and you're still learning the maps, use your Scav and use your Scav often. The guns are not always going to be fantastic. As you level your Fence Rep up, they're certainly going to get better. The gear that you have on your Scav is certainly going to get better. You also don't need to overextend that scav run. If you load in and you have, let's say, a decent ADAR and maybe a headset and an armor, that's a great opportunity to just get to an extract. Run out, get your fence reputation built up, and use that gear. And even if you use that slightly, or in most cases, pretty well degraded gear, in your next run, if you could snowball off of that and have a successful stash run or loot run or two, you're going to be in a much better position at building not only your money, but also your just your gear in general. That's going to be really helpful for you. So use your scav runs, use them often, and use that gear that you pull off your scav run instead of instantly selling everything. And I think what you'll find is you'll start to almost desensitize yourself a little bit to dying and losing those items, because in most cases you don't really care. I will tell you, in my personal progression with this game, the first wipe that I played, I never used like class 5 or class 6 armor. I just never did. I just could never bring myself, maybe a raid or two, and I would die in those raids because, again, I was either not confident or didn't know the map or just wasn't great at PvP at that point. And so I would just never use that stuff. I stuck around like class 4 armor pretty much the entirety of the wipe, even after I had millions of rubles. The amount of money I had in my stash did not matter at that point because I wasn't desensitized to losing that gear. I will also tell you, this is just a personal tip for me. In my opinion, if you can get to 1,000,000 rubles, if you can save up the money and you can earn 1,000,000 rubles in this game, and you can do it confidently and successfully in a relatively short period of time, it's certainly going to take you some raids, especially if you're not finding anything super extremely valuable. But if you can do that, you can get to 1,000,000 rubles. I will tell you that you have the capacity and the capability to basically run whatever gear you want in this game. 1,000,000 rubles, while that might go very quickly if you're buying a Slick and an Alton and then a Meta M4 with 995, and that will certainly burn that cash up very quickly. As long as, again, you can have the opportunity and find a way and successfully make that money time and time again, you really can run whatever gear you want. And I will tell you, the more you die with really expensive gear, the more desensitized to actually losing that gear that you're gonna that you ended up taking into that raid. And what's gonna end up happening is, as you get more confident in your PvP abilities, as you get more confident running and playing on a map and learning where people are going to be, PMCs, good angles, how to take down, for instance, a scav boss and do it confidently and consistently, the more you can do that and the more confident you get in this game, the faster and quicker your gear fear is going to go away. And this is going to be different. I should have said this up front. Gear fear is going to be different for everybody. There are going to be people that come in and play the game and learn it and feel confident in PvP and not really care too much about the gear. I will tell you that everybody at some point in this game, I don't care what they say, has gear fear. A lot of times it's when they first start, and people progress through that differently again. But I will tell you that even those very experienced players still have gear fear to a certain extent, that they don't want to go into 5 raids in a row and die and have to even take the time to build their Meta M4 again and go and buy all of their equipment. They want to just be able to get into a raid and run that repeatedly and spend their time in raid as opposed to being out of raid gearing up. So keep that in mind and keep those tips in mind. The last thing, again, that I want to just say is, as a good tip, is if you are really struggling with this, don't focus on your money. I'm a big proponent that the amount of money that you have in this game is not a key indicator of how skillful you are. It certainly can show some aspects and qualities of how good you are at this game, specifically at making money. But everybody makes money in this game a little bit differently. Some people do it very cheesily. Some people do it very much the hard way, and some people find opportunities where they can just get really lucky and successful at finding money. Find a red key card, for instance, very early into a wipe, and you're able to sell it, although maybe not so much anymore with the key changes. You can easily find yourself 50 or 60 million rubles, and that is really based off of just one item. So I just want to say this, and I might get some flack for this, but having and how much money you have in this game is not a key indicator for skill. What I think is more a key indicator for skill is, again, the ability to not have to worry about how much money you have, and the ability to, again, go into a raid, make money, do it consistently, and not worry about. Like I said, when I get to 1,000,000 rubles after I've upgraded the hideout, after I've done certain quests, 1,000,000 rubles is a good spot for me. And I sincerely believe that if you can get to that 1,000,000 rubles, again, you can feel very comfortable to run whatever gear. You may not be able to buy every meta attachment. You may not be able to run Classics armor every single raid, but Class 5 with, you know, a decently modded weapon, even if you have to mod that weapon just from the traders, which I strongly recommend, actually, in order to save yourself some money. But I digress. And the ability to be able to purchase, you know, good mid-tier to, you know, hopefully top-tier ammo in some instances. You're going to be successful. You're going to be successful with being able to do that. The last tip I have for you from a countering a gear fear perspective is if you do get to that point and you are struggling to make money and you're worried about how many rubles you have, start to try to stack your gear. Go into your scav run. Sit back, run your scav every couple of minutes, do something else in between, and stack up some sets of gear. Get yourself 5 or 6 loadouts situated in your stash. I sincerely believe that if you can do that, those raids that you jump into, that first raid that you jump into, PMC, keep in the back of your mind that you have 5 or 6 loadouts already built, already ready to go, that you can just rely on when you need to go and jump into that next raid. And hopefully what that helps you do is build up a little bit of confidence, worry a little bit less about what you're bringing in, because you know that you have sets of gear behind you that you can literally just get out of that raid. If you die, throw that stuff on and jump right back into your raid after you know, rehydrated and got your energy levels back up. So a couple of quick tips. I'm going to run them down again. Learn the game, learn a stash run and a loot run. And again, hopefully we've provided 1 or 2 examples of that through this video that you've been able to watch. Avoid your PvP, right? Especially if you're not confident in your PvP. Use your scav runs. Build a base of gear if you can. Again, building a base of money is fantastic. If you do a combination of these things, what I hope you'll find is that you'll learn that the gear that you have, all of it, especially because this game wipes, it's all useless anyway. It's all going to go to the shredder at some point. So you may as well use it in the raid, enjoy it, hopefully get some successful runs out of it. And in my opinion, if you can use a set of gear and get 2 or 3 or 4 successful raids in a row, even if you don't do a whole lot, but you pull some items out, that is going to make that set of gear successful for you. So hopefully this was helpful for you, and hopefully you picked up some good tips, especially if this is something that you're struggling with. I certainly welcome any comments down below, especially from those that have some experience, and anything that I didn't cover that has personally helped you get over that gear fear. In addition to that, I'll put in the little plug here as we finish up. Like, comment, subscribe. We really do appreciate all the support on the channel. I've actually really enjoyed making this Teaching Tarkov series and look forward to continuing with more videos. So hopefully, again, newer players are finding good opportunities and good info from these, and just hopefully that they're helpful. In addition to that, if you ever want to come hang out with us over on stream, we do stream on Twitch Fridays and Saturdays, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and then randomly throughout the week in the evenings as well. We've got our Discord and our Twitter down below. Give us a follow over there. Again, if you ever want to come check out our stream, we'd love to chat with you live, answer any Tarkov questions you have, maybe run some raids, and just generally have a good time. And certainly play this game a lot, so we certainly like talking about it. And Discord, I always got to put the plug in. Discord is a great place to keep up to date with the channel as well. We post when our new videos are going up, so if you don't do that over on YouTube, or maybe you don't want to hit that little bell button, you can come hang out with us in the Discord. And again, we got a growing EFT community over there for a lot of folks that play as well, so if you're looking for some friends to run some raids with. With that, I will finish this Teaching Tarkov video up. I've been Doc, Average Gamer guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next Escape from Tarkov video. Peace.